Hi, this is the Tempter podcast where we discuss embedded Linux, IoT, and anything else we find interesting. Your hosts today are Kem Raj and Cliff Brake. So today we're going to talk about a great way to prove your ideas and then sell them. So Kem, why don't you introduce us to this topic and give us an overview of where we're going with this.
You might want to know what's a great way to prove your ideas and then have a platform for them to showcase and sell them to people. More than often we discuss a lot of great ideas, in various settings, and sometimes they don't travel too far in organizations. So, it would be great if, you have effective ways to propagate those ideas in an effective manner. In the end, they can turn into projects, into products, and be living a product in someday in future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds great. So why does this work, or why are we interested in this method?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's this old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
and a video is worth a million, right?
Okay.
So I think it's not something new. We have done this in the past. Like you've done probably write-ups. You have done things like writing some proposals, right? Where you discuss in detail on the paper, and then you circulate for reviews and approvals. And then you might have done some things like um, some live demos of some sort, or some mock-ups, um, and um, and I think all of these things, they do work to a certain extent, but I think with the technology of today, and especially after the pandemic, a lot of people working remotely, or working in different geographical locations, the power of demo has just become more and more evident and more effective.
Mm-hmm.
We like to see things, that gives us much more idea about what it is, rather than writing it down, talking about it. Um, the clarity that you see in action is much more. And it's not only for the people who are watching the demo, but it's also for the presenter, because it starts at the idea level, and then you prepare a demo, and that there's a lot of effort that goes into it. And in that process, you do learn about, is this idea worth it? Like, is it something that will scale the way we were thinking? Is it, you know, uh, carrying the solution that, the problem that we are trying to solve? So there are many things that get solved. A good comparison, I can draw from is whenever you wrote a compiler, the first program you would compile is a hello world, right?
Mm-hmm.
In any language. And if you look at the hello world program, it's very simple. It's one liner. But if you look at what all compiler is doing while compiling that hello world, it's in fact almost every subsystem of the compiler is invoked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good demo. So say you designed a new language, and you basically wrote your hello world and you executed it on your computer in a new language. That's a good demo, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just all around a good process or a good methodology, because you get into the whatever idea you have, you get some experience with it, you get to learn about it, and sometimes as we might even call this like a prototype or a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get into it, you may even discover maybe there's some problems with your idea and they need to be modified before it's presented as a
Great.
solution to some problem. So it's just a good process to reduce risk.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think demos are effective versus like sending somebody an email saying, I think we should use language X or component Y or platform Z?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's basically, as I said before, it's more about, you have already done a lot of legwork to prove the point. And, there are like fundamental building blocks that you require for a POC or a demo um, to be effective for your ideas to operate. So yes, it might be a small demo, but the amount of work for feasibility that would have done is already in there. And everybody who is looking at the demo knows that. So say, if you were to suggest a new programming language, right? There are a lot of unknowns when I say that idea, right? And you may say that, yeah, it sounds good. Like, I think, none of the current, programming languages are good. Yeah, let's design a new programming language. And it's a very open, very opaque, very vague idea. But then when I show you a demo of my programming language, right, it shapes the form. You might see, oh, all right, what I see is, this is more readable, or, this is much faster, or this is easier to compile, or, there are things like that that are already there in the demo, actually, that you do see. So a demo speaks a lot to that. And people who are in decision making, they want to take calculated risks, right? So a demo helps them, and it in turn helps you, if you are the one who is owning that, to help the decision makers do that work, and that where they can say that, yes, I think the risk is calculated. They do understand fairly well that if you undertake this project, it may fail, but a demo helps a lot in turning that risk into a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to be much easier for people that aren't intimate with whatever technology you're demoing to understand it and really grasp what's going on without a lot of effort. Like you said, it communicates much more information than just an email or talking about it. I mean, we can sit in meetings for weeks on end talking about what we should do, whereas if we all went out and did a demo, we'd probably, learn a lot more and have a better idea what to do. So,
yeah, and then I mean, in a POC demo, in the end, it could be that, hey, let's not do it, right? There are 10 other ways to do it, and this was not the right one. And that could be a good outcome. I call that a successful demo.
Sure. Yeah. So what's a demo look like?
Yeah, so I think demos are, few things that we could do, like, live demonstration is one where, you basically stand in front of people and then you showcase, either a demo on a screen, or if it's something that's having its own, display system, then you show it on the display system. If it's a moving product, something like a robot, you show it there. That's like live demonstration. The other one is more like, building an offline video. So, the video could be basically made offline. The advantage of making it offline is that you have a chance to present the idea in a more logical sequence that you wish to present it. You can edit it. You could do things like that. You can add more graphics, where it needs to explain things and stuff like that. And you have that opportunity of taking multiple takes, right? And the second option actually is to capture like a live demonstration, right? So you get to see that, there is like public questions and all those kind of things in there, but then it may go wrong in some ways, and it's a live recording.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels more authentic.
Sure.
Because if things go wrong, they do go wrong, and you move on. And um, but that sense of authenticity is more, right? And there might be a little bit of skepticism when you have that offline, video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to fake it when you're doing something live. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Video is neat, and I had the experience recently where I was working with a decision maker in a company
Mm-hmm.
who was trained as a mechanical engineer, but very competent in a lot of other areas. But I sent him a lot of written stuff, and then I sent him a video. It wasn't one I produced, but just one that was relevant, and he really appreciated that because he could more easily see what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like with decision makers that aren't hands-on with what you're working on, that they do seem to like videos, or at least some of them that I've worked with.
Right. Yeah, and I think with the technologies that are coming along, and especially after this, the 2020 2021, the advent of preparing video demos has really taken off, and I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that in multiple places where there's no need to travel because there's a demo day of some sort, or there is something that everybody's sitting under the same roof. They could record their video and then share it across, the stakeholders, and they could watch it on their own times, and then they can kind of like get together in a decision meeting and talk more about it. Um, and that's been very effective way of POCs that I've seen in past couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it's recorded video, then it can scale. It can, especially in large organizations, it can go
Mm-hmm.
beyond your immediate supervisor and to whoever's interested in the organization. So
Yeah,
yeah, video scales.
yeah,
So we've talked about the why and the what, and maybe we could spend a few minutes talking about how we do demos.
yes,
So what's your experience?
yeah. So I think you probably have done more videos than me, in public domain, but you need to have some level of I wouldn't say skills, but you probably need to know to work with few tools to do demos. And I think a very um, simple way could just be that think of you're making a presentation, and then just record your video,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you can get very sophisticated. And I think there are tools and practices, but obviously you need to know what tools to use and learn them as a user, and um, and be some level of how to record videos, how to record. So if you're doing embedded boards, then what kind of setups you want to do. And a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, they have published their setups and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, and how they do things. So that's a good resource as well. But I personally, I use OBS at times,
Mm-hmm.
and at times I just do screencast. If it is like my kind of work, might be just like command line at times for a demo. That screencast is good for that. But I'd like to know yours actually. What's your setup, and how do you approach how do you prepare a demo or a live demo?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just learning all this right now, and As engineers, often we don't want to be bothered with this kind of stuff. This is not really what we signed up to do, maybe, is produce media.
Mm.
But really, if we want to be effective, we need to know how to present our ideas and share them and help people understand them. So in the end, we all have to be writers, and as time goes on, other types of media are becoming effective tools. One of the simplest tools I find very useful is just taking a screenshot. And I take screenshots all the time. So in KDE, which is the desktop I use, I can just hit print screen. I can take a screenshot. I can click the annotate button and quickly mark it up and highlight things, and then send it off in an email or a chat message, whatever. And this I think it's called Spectacle is the tool. Yeah, in KDE, and it's by far the best one I've ever seen. And I have a Mac, and Mac has that stuff built in, but it's a little clunkier, at least on my old Mac. And but any platform, Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can. It's important to set up to take screencasts and get not screencasts, screenshots, and be able to share them, because it just communicates a lot.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And that's the simplest demo, right? It's just a picture of what you're doing.
Yep.
And then, OBS is a great tool. You mentioned that, and that's a tool I think produced by Facebook. And their motivation is probably so people create more content to put on their platforms. But it's really good for screencasts. It's pretty simple, easy to use. One thing I would suggest is, if you're doing screencasts, is to get a good microphone.
Yeah.
So I have an Audio-Technica AT2020 or something like that, and it's like $70. It's not super expensive, and it makes a big difference in the quality of your audio. And I feel that this is just a basic consideration for the recipient or the viewer, is to care enough to make the audio sound good. It's just kind of a courtesy, I feel. To OBS is great for recording screencasts. You can have a bunch of different scenes. You can have different windows and switch between them. And then you can upload it to YouTube or Google Photos, or however you want to share it. And the more you do this, the better you'll become, like anything. So it's just a matter of practice, and over time you'll figure out how to do it.
So how about editing? Like, I guess, once you have produced, captured videos and kind of content, let's say raw content, then do you have any suggestions around, say, editing the video and, some tools or practices around that?
Yeah, there's two video editors, open source ones I've used. KDENlive, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but that's part of the KDE project.
Yeah.
And then OpenShot is one I just learned about recently, but it seems very popular and very simple, easy to use, and it appears like it may be more cross-platform. I haven't tried it on other platforms, but so there's good tools. You can edit videos, cut pieces out, which is mostly what you want to do, is just cut out the mistakes.
Right.
If you can do that, you're 90% there. And if you want to, the other thing I usually do is adjust the volume levels, and that's often when I record in OBS, the volume's too low, so I want to tweak that up a little bit before I publish. So that's about it. So
cool. So essentially, I think this is like your own, with these tools, I find them very powerful. They're almost like your own, studio, so to speak, and that you can have a one-man studio in your work environments, and with right kind of, say, cameras and scenes, you can mix, when you're issuing a command, and then how it is reflecting on your on your target board and all that kind of stuff. You can neatly mix create windows and stuff like that. So really neat.
Yeah, that's a good point. With OBS Studio, you can have multiple cameras. So sometimes I'll have my main camera, which is viewing the speaker, and then I'll have a document camera, which is looking at an embedded board in the lab. And I can display both of these at the same time, or I can switch between them. It's just really flexible, and like you said, you can have as many cameras as you want, so you could have different angles that you're looking at. The other thing with OBS is it's really geared to recording everything in one shot if you get good at it. And the more you can get it right the first time through, and spend less time in your video editing tool piecing stuff together, it's just a lot faster process. So that's what I really shoot for. Is I really don't want to have to piece it together and edit it a lot. I just want to set everything up right, use OBS to switch between scenes, and then just capture it in one shot and hopefully do minimal editing. Otherwise, it's too much work. So, and then we'll never do it.
Yeah. Cool. So I think that covers our how part. And there are things like YouTube Live and Twitch and some other methods that people do deploy nowadays as well. And they could be used for one thing we talked about, live demoing, in a remote scenario sort of things. And you can record it at the same time, but your mistakes will be recorded too. And but yeah, I think there are tools. Look out for them. Some may fit your needs. Just build your setups, and I think you don't have to kind of like, once you have set up your pipeline, so to speak, or your default settings, you really don't need to tweak that very much, right? So you can just go from one demo to another and to another, and so it can be really, really productive after you have done your initial setup, I guess.
Yes, for sure. Well, maybe do you have any examples of demos you've done that you feel have stand out?
So I think that some of the demos, I wouldn't give you really an example right here, but some of these are more like I'd go back to tooling before I've done live demos, in the sense that when you have stakeholders, and you could basically talk about, hey, we want to introduce this new logging mechanism, and it's it's something that everybody would want to have, but then you showcase them. There is a server, right, which is running on your machine, which is kind of your the server part, and then there's a target which is running in an emulator in your target, and then it's sending that, and it's like Grafana and stuff like that, which is kind of showing on another window. And you get that end-to-end view. So I've done that quite a lot, and they've been very effective because they give you that full detail, full view immediately, how it's going to work when you kind of scale it out into like a fleet of devices and stuff like that. So I do look for simplistic setups like simulators, emulators, and setting up a server right on your system, maybe in a Docker container or something like that. So I don't have to like really pull too many strings, because that's the reason I was doing live demos. There are many things can go wrong. But when you are doing an offline demo, then this might not be, you can be a little easy on that part probably, and go on from there.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of tools available. We can spin up a server in the cloud for $5 a month. We have Raspberry Pis on our bench. We have Arduinos. I mean, there's just a whole lot of things we can use to quickly demo software technology or whatever. So
cool. So I think any other final thoughts, Cliff, for this topic today?
Yeah, no, I think that's some good ideas, and appreciate any feedback. If anybody has ideas, we'd like to hear them. So reach out to us on our community forum or contact us directly.
Yep. So find out your demo and find out how you want to do it. Find your audience, and then find out your tools, and then go ahead and make your demo day. Thank you.